Welcome back. It is time to get the playoff series preview started. So we're starting off with the series that we'll play first, and that is the Winnipeg Jets hosting the St. Louis Blues. I think this series is going to be close. I would not be surprised to see it go a full 7 games. The last time these two teams met in the playoffs was 2019, and that series was fantastic. Now, one thing that was notable with that series was nobody won at home until Game 6. The St. Louis Blues won Game 6 at home. Since they'd won the previous 3 in Winnipeg, that was all they needed to move on to the next round. Now, the team's records are quite different overall. 44-30-8 for the Blues, 56-22-4 for the Jets. However, since Four Nations, the Blues have been the better team. 19-4-3 with a 788 points percentage. The Jets 17-8-1 with a 673 points percentage. So you can make the argument the Blues are the hotter team going into the playoffs. You can make the argument the Blues are the hottest team in the league going into the playoffs. You could also make an argument that the team's worked so hard to get into the playoffs, do they have anything left? So there's that argument out there. Now, these teams met 4 times this season, and I'm not sure that any regular season matchups matter, but we're going to have them on the board for these anyways. So October 22nd, Winnipeg won 3-2. That was about 6 months ago now. December 3rd, St. Louis won 4-1. February 22nd, it's a shootout victory for Winnipeg, 4-3. We do not have shootouts in the playoffs, of course. And April 7th, it was a 3-1 win for Winnipeg. Interestingly enough, that was the only game during the regular season series between the two teams that was won by the home team. So Winnipeg won twice in St. Louis. St. Louis won twice in Winnipeg before Winnipeg finally won one at home. Are we going to see that in this year's playoffs as well? I wanted to talk just an overview and the top 4 scorers on each team and look at how they've performed since Four Nations as well, because I think there's a story here. Robert Thomas, overall, 70 games, 21 goals, 60 assists, 81 points. Good numbers. Great numbers since Four Nations. 26 games played, 8 goals, 32 assists for 40 points. Jordan Kyrou, 82 games overall, 36 goals, 34 assists, 70 points. 26 games since Four Nations, 13 goals, 13 assists, 26 points. Dylan Holloway, 77 games, 26 goals, 37 assists, 63 points. Missed some time heading into this playoff series. 21 games, 10 goals, 13 assists, 23 points. Any role that Holloway plays in this series is going to be key, I think, for the Blues to be able to move on. The steal of Holloway and Broberg from the Oilers was a huge win for the St. Louis Blues. Buchnevich, 76 games, 20 goals, 37 assists, 57 points. Since Four Nations, 22 games, 9 goals, 14 assists, 23 points. Jordan Binnington, 28-22-5 record overall with a 900 save percentage. Since Four Nations, 13-3-1 record with a 910 save percentage. So he's got a lot better. Now we look over on the Winnipeg side. Kyle Connor, 82 games, 41 goals, 56 assists, 97 points. Excellent season for Connor. And since Four Nations, 26 games, 11 goals, 17 assists, 28 points. So scoring did slow down. It happens. But still near 100 points on the season. Still above a point per game since Four Nations. Not bad. Scheifele, 82 games, 39 goals, 48 assists, 87 points. Since Four Nations, 26 games, 8 goals, 16 assists, 24 points. You can always have Scheifele notched in for about a point per game, and that seems to be very, very reliable. You could set your watch by it. Nick Ehlers, 69 games, 24 goals, 29 assists, 63 points. I don't know what that means either. And then since Four Nations, 22 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points. Ehlers, of course, hurt going into this series. There are going to be some injury questions. And I would love to throw them up on the board, but we know things are going to change between now and Saturday. We know there's going to be miraculous returns and guys who magically are out. Happens. Teams don't tell us what's going to happen. Josh Morrissey. They're not like trailers for movies these days. But Josh Morrissey, 80 games, 14 goals, 14 assists, or 48 assists for 62 points. When I watch a trailer now, I go, cool, I don't have to watch the movie anymore. And then since Four Nations, 24 games, 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. So Josh Morrissey's recorded half of his goals since Four Nations. And yeah, that's going to be key. Josh Morrissey's going to have to play really, really well in this series. Colton Parayko's name's not on the board, but we know how important Parayko's going to be in just that defense overall for St. Louis. And then Connor Hellebuck, great season, historic 47-12-3 record, 925 points percentage. Since Four Nations, 13-5-1 with a 924 save percentage. Very consistent. We know Hellebuck struggled in last year's playoffs. He needs to get off to a good start and keep at that rate. Now, looking at overall team stats, uh, goals per game, 3.05 for St. Louis. They're allowing 2.82 against. For Winnipeg, 3.35 goals per game, allowing 2.32 goals against. And Connor Hellebuck got the Jennings Trophy because lowest goals against average and all that. Then you get into power plays. Winnipeg leads there with 28.9%. St. Louis a respectable 22.1%. The Jets, the better penalty killers too, at 79.4%. St. Louis 74.2%. So St. Louis is going to want to stay out of the box against Winnipeg. Keep it 5-on-5. But either way, St. Louis playing really well going into the playoffs. We'll see if the power play makes a big difference there. Now, these teams are both pretty much lights out if they have the lead. Leading after one, the Blues are 24-2-2 this season. Leading after two, they're 35-2-1. The Winnipeg Jets, 29-0-3 if they're leading after one. 41-0-1 if they're leading after two. Yeah, those numbers I checked, they're pretty good. Hits per 60 minutes. The Blues, bigger hitters, 24.12 hits per 60 minutes, whereas the Jets, 20.56 hits per 60 minutes. Block shots, Winnipeg has the lead there at 15.36 blocks per 60 minutes. St. Louis, 15.04. Respectable numbers for both teams there for sure. And I'm guessing that in the first game between these teams, we'll see probably about 100 hits. One of the things I'm always entertained by in the playoffs is the hitting is so high. Those first few games of the first round, it's some of the best hockey you're going to see, some of the most dangerous hockey you're going to see. And hit totals are always really, really high in the first round. And it never quite gets back up after that first round is done, or after those first few games of the first round, really. Now, recent history for these teams, I went back to 2019. You're welcome, Blues fans. The Blues won in the first round in 2019 in 6 games against the Jets. I may very well have been wearing this same Jets jersey because I believe the Jets would beat the Blues, and they didn't. I think the Jets should beat the Blues this year, but it's going to be really close. Like I said, could go to 7. But that series in the first round of 2019 was exciting, and of course the Blues went on and won the Stanley Cup. So it's a similar storyline. You change coaches mid-season. The team has a much better second half. Eventually, they figured out Montgomery's systems. One recent example you could use as well is Paul Maurice. Initially, when Paul Maurice took over behind the bench in Florida, the team didn't really pick up on a lot of the things he was throwing down initially. But once they did, all of a sudden they're Cup champs. So, yes, the Blues are absolutely in this, and I'm not avoiding wearing Blues because of any reason other than I mean, it'd be nice to see Winnipeg go on a bit of a run after the season that they've had, right? Now, 2020, the Jets lost in the qualifying round to Calgary. Calgary bullied them out of that. The Blues lost in the first round to Vancouver, a series that Vancouver has some good fortune there for Vancouver at points, but they played well. 2021, the Jets lost to Montreal in round 2, and that was after the Jets upset Edmonton in the first round. The Blues lost to Colorado in the first round in 2021. 2022, the Jets missed the playoffs. The Blues don't. The Blues lost to Colorado in the second round. A very controversial loss to Colorado, meaning that we could see the Blues, if they get past the Jets, face potentially Colorado in the next round. I'm just saying that could be a really fun setup. So 2023 and 2024, the Blues did not make the playoffs. So this is their first year in the playoffs in 3 years. And in both of the years in between, the Jets got eliminated in the first round. 2023 by Vegas, 2024 by Colorado. The Jets really do lose to teams that are Cup contenders or Cup winners. But that doesn't make Jets fans feel any better, does it? So this kind of has to be the year. Now, the schedule has been released, and we know the schedule for the first 4 games. So on Saturday, these teams will meet at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific, that game being in Winnipeg. And then on Monday, they meet again in Winnipeg, the game starting at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. And there's 2.5 hours in between games because the NHL scheduling still, it's still the NHL scheduling. I know that it's the broadcasters that want it scheduled this way. I just think it's crazy not to schedule games 3 hours apart, especially when you have unlimited overtime potential. There's going to be unlimited overtime. And every time we see that, where a game goes into like triple overtime, I think, the broadcasters are probably kind of choked right now. All these shows that they normally would have on have all been preempted. So those are the first games. And then Thursday in St. Louis, it starts at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. This is where I have my annual, I apologize to people in central time zones. If you're not in an Eastern time zone or Pacific time zone, you guys kind of get screwed over when it comes to the scheduling. You're going to have games start really kind of late. This game being a case of that. And then on Sunday, it starts at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. So there you go. Then Wednesday, April 30th, if Game 5's needed, that's in Winnipeg. Friday, May the 2nd is in St. Louis. Sunday, May the 4th in Winnipeg. So there are extra days off. This is something else, too, that I've seen people complain about, all the extra days off you get during the playoffs. But it is largely driven by broadcasters, and I think the NHL's kind of okay with it because it may minimize the wear and tear on the players a little bit. But at any rate, it is going to be a very close series. I think it's going to be a fantastic series. I do think the Jets should win it. Notice I'm saying should. But I know how good the Blues are. I've been watching the Blues play. And what's interesting is, while they were down, and I've seen the posts of how they were 8 points out of the playoffs, what was it? Not too long after Four Nations, somewhere in that region. They were playing well. And one thing I kept saying, I believe in power rankings and just talking about the Blues in general, was the underlying numbers with the Blues were good before this turnaround started. And then when the turnaround got going, and the team was still playing those systems Montgomery brought in, yeah, it's something. And one other thing to keep in mind is the last coach before Montgomery that the Bruins parted ways with was Bruce Cassidy, who won a Stanley Cup in Vegas not too long after. And so if Montgomery won a Stanley Cup in St. Louis, I, as a Bruins fan, would honestly find that kind of funny. For the Bruins to have dismissed two coaches who then go on and win Stanley Cups elsewhere. But at any rate, I'm not going to say anything about Don Sweeney on that one. Just I may have disagreed with both coach firings when they took place. So while I would honestly, my wife's a Jets fan. I would love to see the Jets go on a nice long run. In the event that the Blues win this series, it might be kind of fun to see them go on a nice long run. And then we can revisit the Boston Bruins as an around as well. Like, okay, so this is twice now they've dismissed a coach who went on to have some pretty good success in the playoffs. And so all the best to Montgomery and all the best to Scott Arniel, who may end up being coach of the year this year for what's happened with the Winnipeg Jets. And as quietly, it feels like he's more of a quiet coach, not a lot of controversy around him or the things he does or says. And so, yeah, it'd be kind of nice to see. I really honestly think this series could be the best series of the first round. And it is the series that will start the playoffs off, I think, on the right foot on Saturday. So let me know your pick for who you think wins this series. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I honestly think these playoffs have been set up in a way where, yeah, all 8 series should be fantastic. And these two teams going to work on, I think, stealing the show with that first game on Saturday. So this should be awesome. But thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.